Well, it appears this proposal of a European Super League, which poses an existential threat to football as we know it, is going ahead. Brian Swanson, what can you tell us?
Yeah, we promised that we expected developments, and we have had it in the last couple of minutes. As statements leading European football clubs announce new Super League competition. It says 12 of Europe's leading football clubs have today come together to announce they have agreed to establish a new midweek competition, the Super League, governed by its founding clubs. Who are the founding clubs? Confirmation: AC Milan, Arsenal, Atletico Madrid, Chelsea, Barcelona, Inter Milan, Juventus, Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United, Real Madrid and Tottenham Hotspur have all joined as founding clubs. The statement says it is anticipated that a further 3 clubs will join ahead of the inaugural season, which is intended to commence as soon as practicable. Saying going forward, the founding clubs look forward to holding discussions with UEFA and FIFA to work together in partnership to deliver the best outcomes for the new league and for football as a whole. Now, in terms of reaction, there is a comment from Florentino Perez, the Real Madrid president. There is also a quote from Joel Glazer, the co-chairman of Manchester United and who is now the vice chair of the Super League. Joel Glazer has said, by bringing together the world's greatest clubs and players to play each other throughout the season, the Super League will open a new chapter for European football, ensuring world-class competition and facilities and increased financial support for the wider football pyramid. In terms of Florentino Perez at Real Madrid, he has said, "We will help football at every level and take it to the rightful place in the world. Football is the only global sport in the world with more than 4 billion fans, and our responsibility as big clubs is to respond to their desires." Andrea Agnelli, the chairman of Juventus and the vice chair of the Football League, has also said, and he's spoken about his the representative of billions of fans across the globe. There seems to be a running theme here. So this is confirmation. The statement coming from the clubs, they are founding clubs. My words, there's going to be an almighty row off the back of this about what happens next in terms of their involvement in existing tournaments, both in Europe and in their domestic competitions. But we now have it. We now have the statement, we now have the confirmation, and we now crucially have the quotes from key figures in the game. They are going on the record. They are happy to be quoted. They are happy to put their names to this. And this is a significant moment in time for both English and European football.
Oh, this is absolutely extraordinary, isn't it? We've seen the depth of the opposition this evening. The Prime Minister, legends of the game like Sir Alex Ferguson voicing their opposition. And even with the threats of bans hanging over them, the threats of potentially bans for players and expulsions from competitions, these clubs have gone ahead.
Let's talk format. Competition format, the statement says 20 participating clubs with 15 founding clubs and a qualifying mechanism for a further 5 teams to qualify annually based on achievements in the prior season. Midweek fixtures with all participating clubs continuing to compete in their respective national leagues. OK, so the interesting point here is that in their format, they believe they will continue to be allowed to participate in the Premier League. It's going to be interesting to hear more from the Premier League on this, because let's not forget what they said. They condemned the proposal. Richard Masters wrote to all 20 clubs earlier and said he wanted those clubs to walk away who were in discussions about this proposed Super League. So there is much more in that statement, but you certainly get the core facts here, and it is confirmation, as we were reporting earlier, of the Premier League clubs involved in this proposal. Big questions now about what is going to happen to them, both in terms of the Premier League, in terms of the existing European competitions, such as further European Championships, World Cups at FIFA, what happens to the players there? Because at the moment, this is still an unregulated competition. It needs someone to regulate it. It needs someone to support it. And at the moment, all we have heard throughout the world of football today is that nobody is prepared to do that. But what the message coming from the clubs is clear, is that they want and they intend to go ahead with this. And they are wanting to work with UEFA to reach some sort of an agreement going forward. But wow, yeah, this is significant.
And just going back to how seismic this is, I mean, you mentioned a little while ago the Premier League sort of issuing threats that they wouldn't stand for this sort of thing. It is so seismic that, as you say, these clubs in the Premier League might be looking at their place under threat in the Premier competition in this country.
Yeah, and I think an interesting point to make here in this statement is in terms of the discussions they say with UEFA and FIFA. They say the formation of the Super League comes at a time when the global pandemic has accelerated the instability in the existing European economic model. Further, for a number of years, the clubs have had the objective of improving the quality and intensity of existing European competitions throughout each season. They say that the pandemic has shown that a strategic vision and a sustainable commercial approach are required to enhance values. In other words, they believe that this is going to help become more sustainable within European football, not just in this Super League but elsewhere. They say that the solutions proposed following these talks do not solve fundamental issues, including the need to provide higher quality matches and additional financial resources. So that is firing a parting shot at UEFA there, just hours before the UEFA Executive Committee is due to meet and sign off the new Champions League proposals post-2024. They also say here that the founding clubs will receive an amount of €3.5 billion solely to support their infrastructure investment plans and to offset the impact of the COVID pandemic. Yeah, €3.5 billion in exchange for their commitment. So the founding clubs, including those Premier League clubs that we've just spoken about, will receive an amount of €3.5 billion solely to support their infrastructure investment plans. Yeah, this is about money.
I mean, just give us an idea on how much that takes things into a different level in terms of football and money.
You know when you gloss over statements? It's quite a big thing to gloss over that, but it says these solidarity payments will be substantial. So what they're also saying is that they are looking to help the football pyramid through other solidarity payments. They say generated by the current European competition, they're expected to be in excess of €10 billion. So they're saying that payments elsewhere, so not just the clubs involved, are going to receive a share of at least €10 billion during the course of the initial commitment period of the clubs. So there's a lot to digest. There's a lot to get your head around. There's been a lot in this whole story throughout the day to just... I've never been involved in a story that has provoked such a strong response from both within the game and within the political spectrum. We heard from Boris Johnson. We've heard from members of the European Parliament, all united in their condemnation of this. But the founding clubs are pressing ahead, and confirmation that those founding clubs, just to remind you all, if you're tuning in, involves Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United and Tottenham as the 6 of the 12 founding clubs.
Brian, we'll let you go and have a look at that statement. Plenty more on that coming very shortly.